Defeating the Germans
by Ashley Warris
and Caitlin Chong. On January of 1943 in Casablanca, Morocco, Allied leaders were planning to invade Italy using their massive military resources. British Prime Minister Winston Churchill called this the soft underbelly of Europe. Allied leaders' objectives were to get rid of Italy from World War II, close the Mediterranean Sea, and force Germany to change divisions from the Russian front, including other German divisions from northern France. A series of Allied beach landings and land battles from Sicily and southern Italy moved towards the Italian mainland to Nazi Germany. At the same time, 16 new divisions were deployed on the Italian mainland by the German command. Adolf Hitler, the German leader, didn't want to let Allies set up air bases that could be a danger to Germany's southern cities, also including oil supplies stored in Romania. He ordered Field Marshal Albert Kesselring, his army group commander, to make the Allies pay dearly for every inch of their advance. Under the command of Kesselring, German forces established many defensive lines all across the Italian peninsula. After several months, Allied leaders went through 4 gruesome battles to break through Monte Cassino and the Gustav Line. In May 1944, the Allied breakout uncovered Kesselring's main forces to a trap by advancing Allied armies from Anzio and Cassino. Instead of cutting off the German soldiers retreating from Cassino, U.S. General Mark Clark disobeyed his own order by moving northwest to capture Rome. This decision allowed a German army escape and possibly handed over an opportunity for a resolution of the Italian campaign. The D-Day landings in Normandy, scheduled for June 6, took priority over the Italian campaign as General Clark's 5th U.S. Army moved into Rome June 4, 1944.
In 1943, the Allied plan was for an invasion across the English Channel. German-occupied France gathered to steam. Adolf Hitler was expecting the invasion along France's northern coast, so he put Erwin Rommel in charge of all defense operations in the region, though they didn't know an exact location on November 1943. General Dwight Eisenhower was appointed commander of Operation Overlord in January of 1944. In the days preceding the invasion, the Allies carried out a massive operation to trick Germans into thinking the main target was Pas de Calais, the narrowest point between Britain and France, rather than Normandy. Eisenhower chose June 5, 1944 as the date for the invasion, except the invasion was delayed for 24 hours due to bad weather. More than 5,000 ships and landing craft left England carrying troops and supplies for the trip across the Channel to France, while more than 11,000 craft were mobilized to provide cover and support in the air for the invasion. The invasions began at 6:30 a.m. June 6th. The Allied forces faced a little opposition at French beaches Gold, June, Sword, and Utah. Resistance at Omaha Beach was heavy, and 2,000 soldiers lost their lives. By day's end, about 156,000 Allied troops had successfully stormed Normandy's beaches. The Germans had suffered from confusing in planning. At first, Hitler thought the invasion was a distraction from the real invasion that he believed was going to take place in the north. He therefore refused to let nearby divisions join the counterattack. Reinforcements had to be called further afield, causing delays. Hitler also hesitated in letting armed divisions help in the defense. The Germans were hampered by effective Allied air support, which took out multiple key bridges and made Germans take long detours, as well as efficient Allied naval support, which helped protect Allied troops. The Allies had reached the Seine River, Paris was liberated, and the Germans had been removed from northwest France by the end of August 1944. After that, the Allied forces then prepared to enter Germany, where they'd meet with Soviet troops moving in east. Allied forces rapidly advanced across France and into Belgium at the conclusion of the Normandy invasion. They destroyed Germans' air resistance and strove towards the German frontier. Marshal Bernard Montgomery, commanding the 21st Army Group, wanted to attack the lower Rhine in the Industrial Ruhr Valley. To achieve this, Montgomery developed Operation Market Garden. This was a 2-stage operation that attempted to break through the German lines. The assault would begin with the landings of the 3-lined airborne that were behind Germans' lines so they could attack key bridges necessary to take over the Rhine. The fact that many German units were already placed in the vicinity of the Allied landing areas. The Germans very quickly and successfully countered Allied airborne forces. The Allied movement almost completely shut down due to serious shortage of gas by the beginning of October. Hitler was given the opportunity to plan a major push in the west to regain the lost land. The battle became known as the Battle of Bulge. The battle was by far the largest battle fought in the Western Front in Europe during World War II. The Germans intended on driving a wedge between American and British armies in France so they could recapture the port of Antwerp in the Netherlands so the Allies could no longer use the port facilities. Germans attacked December 16 with major artillery barrage among the Ardennes that impacted the American lines. The heart of the battle was centered on the important road to Bostings. where Germans and Americans fought to take control of the town. December 26th, Allied forces were still fighting and defending Bosnij, where they received a relief force from Lieutenant General George S. Patton's Third Army. When Patton struck with his 3 divisions, the next day the German ring around Bosnij was broken.
By this time, the Nazi offensive was running out of fuel. To diminish the ability of Allied aircraft to support ground troops, the Germans waited for bad weather to launch their attack. The weather slowed the German advance, and stubborn resistance wrecked their timetable. As weather conditions improved, Allied planes took the skies again to support counterattacks that start pushing back the Germans. As the Red Army advanced on Warsaw in August of 1944, the Polish resistance forces rose in opposition to Nazi occupiers in Warsaw. Known as the Warsaw Uprising, the participants lacked equipment and ammunition. The Soviet forces were against the expectations of the Polish activists, didn't make an effort to break through the German lines and unite with the Polish resistance. This incident led to conclude that the Soviet military was ordered by Joseph Stalin to knock out the resistance in order to weaken anti-communist forces in the city. In the south, the Soviets moved to gain a wider foothold in the Balkans during late August. They kicked Romania out of the war, moved to Bulgaria, then into Yugoslavia. Hungary then fell next October. When 1945 rolled around, Soviet forces found themselves on the doorstep of Nazi Germany, ready to take on the Nazi Reich.
The end.